this. So let's see. So this, yeah, we won't get this on the Zoom. Because it won't, unless you sign into Zoom.
Do you want to send me a Zoom link, or was that in the invite? Because I logged onto the internet for the. Oh wait, I think I might have this. No, this is from Maddie. This is Teams.
Let's see. Did you take this class?
I did take.
Oh, you did. Okay.
You're ruining my secret.
Okay, all right.
It's okay. It's not.
I was just wondering. You know, but you were in thermo, right? You did.
Yeah.
Did you TA thermo or something? Or?
I did.
Like,
well, we did a lot of thermos because I was in the quarter conversion. So
oh, yeah.
4 thermos.
Okay.
I also did the WISE internship with you one summer. So.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we did materials with you as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Okay.
I'm trying to see the there's a link here somewhere, but I don't see it. There's a lot of junk here. So yeah, why don't I just
Let's Google. If you go into the Zoom meeting, a lot of times you can get the link from
yeah,
the Zoom.
I got it. Yeah, I get it there under chat somewhere. Under it's under like chat or something.
I think you could just maybe copy the
Oh, yeah, that's it,
invitation,
yeah.
and then if you just ping that over. No, it's funny when Maddie told me she did this last year. I was like, I think I took that class.
Yeah.
And then we were talking. I was like, yeah, that sounds like the class I took.
Let's see. How do I get the mail that you see? I never use a web browser for it. I Google it. Can get.
Well, you can always bring up Google.
Let's see. Why don't I
Copy
just
the link.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that, but I didn't kind of get around to it.
I pulled some pictures.
What is your email then?
ANNIE.
Oh, here.
Yep.
But that's Infinity Acres.
Yep.
Yes. All right.
That's it.
That'll work. All right, that's good. Sorry about the delay.
No,
Doesn't matter much, but it makes.
my dongle got moved around.
Well, it wouldn't help because we actually need to. You have to get on Zoom, I think, to do this, and I have to put the Zoom because otherwise they won't see it.
Yeah.
And then let's see. So here, I'm gonna have to do like this. Use my Zoom account. I have to enable screen sharing here, but somehow I lost. I did hide screen. Somehow I have to unhide screen. Hide tools or something.
Just click on that. And
I did run into this before. I hit hide tools anyway. It doesn't say like Windows or anything. There's escape will do it. Yeah, sorry.
oh,
Now I have to do multiple can share. All right, you should be able to share now.
okay. I'm just waiting for that.
Oh, the email didn't come through?
Yeah.
I'll send it. I'll just close this one.
Sometimes it takes me.
Yeah, especially if you send it with UC mail. How did I send it?
Oh, here, it's coming through.
Oh, is it? Yeah, I
Yeah.
sent it with Gmail. It should be like,
My,
it is a long
my
time.
laptop is always slower, so.
Well, yeah, the UC mail, it can take a really long time when you.
I don't know if we're gonna. That would be the only thing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'll have to cut my audio.
I don't have it on mine, but there is a
Oh.
video.
No, but okay.
But what I can do then is maybe just,
All right, it should be okay.
okay,
I think it's all right. If not, it's all right.
we might have a little audio.
Yeah.
Chance.
If you guys at home, just, you're gonna have to speak if there's some problem with the audio, okay? Hey, Taylor, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. And then I can just see your screen right now that says the site can't be reached, but we
Okay.
can hear everything.
Okay, so should be, all right. We should take over the Zoom now.
Are you,
Oh, I did, I said share screen, stop.
so
share,
I,
sorry.
yeah, I was trying to share.
Yeah,
There we go.
right there.
Okay.
All right, see, can you see that now, Taylor?
Yeah, I can see it.
Great, thanks. All right, so that should be okay. You know, leave it there. So Annie was a student, like I had her in a couple classes, I guess, like this class included.
Yes,
And then she went to 80 acres. She can tell a story about whatever happened, I guess.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I went through a little bit about what vertical farming is.
Okay.
Like briefly, just like the general history of it a little bit, but not much. So they should have a rough idea kind of what it is.
okay,
Actually, 3 of them should.
3 of them.
Everyone else was at Zoom or something, so.
Okay.
Anyway.
All right.
Someplace.
All right. Well, thank you guys for letting me come talk today. As Dr. Beaucage said, I am a Chemie graduate here, alumni. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself, about 80 acres, about what we do, how our business was built with sustainability ground up. So we'll just jump right into it. So a little bit about me. I am from Cincinnati. I have my BS from chemical engineering here at UC, and I got my master's in environmental engineering and water resource management from Villanova. Don't hate me. They had an online program and it was great. If you look at the top photo, you might recognize one person in that photo. It's a little hard to see, but in the kind of the bottom left area of the table, there is a certain someone sitting there. Because I took this class a few years ago. We won't give an exact number. And down in the bottom, that was myself and another engineer who was on the trip, Kayla. And just for fun little tidbits. So Kayla also works in environmental EHS management. She was a civil engineer, I believe, and I'm a chemical engineer now working in sustainability. So it's really fun to see how a handful of us who have taken this class have melded our careers into this. And life moves on after college, as you might all know. So I've worked for Unilever doing end-to-end supply chain, consumer good management. I've done engineering design for HVAC, process engineering, facility engineering. And at that time, I got into water and energy conservation audits. I was doing my master's degree and really wanted to push my career towards sustainability full time, and ended up at 80 acres. Throughout all of this, I got married and have 2 wonderful children. So they keep me busy and on my toes, but it's also part of why I want to do what I do. So I have a young family, and it is important to me to leave a legacy that I'm proud of and to hopefully contribute to the earth being in a better place when they're adults. So it really, to me, is all one and the same. And it's been a fun journey, and I still use a lot of the things that I learned here today, maybe in a different format than I expected as a chemical engineer, but a lot of what you learn today is really applicable and really ties in well with sustainability. So I'll give a few tidbits when I see them about how my degree has helped me. Any questions about me before I move forward? Awesome.
Was your husband a Canadian too, or he looks familiar with it?
He
Maybe
was
just looks like someone else.
maybe just looks like someone else. He was a Marine,
Okay,
so he didn't go here.
all right,
Um,
we're well protected.
yeah, it's great. It's a great travel buddy. I always feel safe.
Yeah,
So a little bit about 80 Acres. So we were founded in 2015. We have about 300 employees across the US and the Netherlands. We have 4 production facilities in Ohio and Kentucky in this area, and then 1 under construction in Georgia. We also, in the bottom, you can kind of see some of our investors. So we have Barclays, we have Beyond Net Zero. So we have some green, quote unquote, investors that have invested in our business with ESG or sustainability focus. We are a global company. You heard me mention the Netherlands. So the Netherlands, the Dutch area, they're really a hotspot for agricultural knowledge and expertise. They're really respected throughout the globe, what they do in that area. So we have a part of our company that sits in the Netherlands. So we have a lot of those Dutch experts collaborating with us day in, day out. We have many global partners that cover everything from engineer to the plant biology. So we work with Siemens, we work with Signify, Priva is a big horticultural technology infrastructure company, but a lot of different people coming together at the table to solve this challenge. And we're a customer favorite. So you make a great product, but you need people to buy it and like it, right? So we have really safe, clean greens. We have high repeat rates in the grocery store, which is really important. You want people to come back and buy your product again and again, or else what you're doing isn't working, right? And we have over 1,000 retail locations in 15 states. So we've had a lot of growth in the past couple of years, but you can find us in Kroger, Whole Foods, Dorothy Lane and Dayton, and throughout some other retailers. But you've probably seen us on the shelf. I know in my own personal experience, I get a lot of people who know the brand, but they don't know all the stuff behind, not behind the scenes, but they don't know what vertical farming is. They don't know what hydroponics is. They just know it tastes great and want to buy it. So that's always great.
so how did them, so you merged with or you bought the Dutch company, or you merged with them, or they bought you, or how did that work?
So we were founded as 80 Acres, and then we had a joint venture with a couple different groups called Infinite Acres. And about a year and a half ago, 80 Acres bought out that whole entity. So we own that technology company, Infinite Acres. We still have various collaborators and partners, such as like Priva, but we now fully own Infinite Acres.
Is P&G involved at all with 80 Acres? Or I know one of the people that founded it was a P&G.
So we have a lot of alums, yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's not connected at all. It's like almost a spin-off kind of thing. Not really.
Yeah, so when we started up, we have a lot of different like leading industry experts from various businesses. So we have people from Kroger, we have people from like Tyson, some from P&G. So
Cover the
whole gamut. And I'll get into why that's important to have people from the P&Gs, from the
So there's
Krogers.
like a flood of startups now. I Googled like vertical farming, and it's like, and then some are like fake companies, you know? So you find, and it's like, they list like the top 25. The first one's like just an address in Los Angeles. Like they don't have any facilities at all, you know, but they're, and this webpage are listed as the top one.
Yeah.
Then they go to it and they say, oh, do you want to invest in us? You know, it's like, so how do you tell who's who in this business? There's a lot of flim-flam, I guess.
There is. Right now for vertical farming, it's an interesting time because there are a number of companies that have gone either bankrupt or are no longer in business, or maybe haven't gotten a facility yet.
Oh yeah, that too. Links they have from a couple years ago are all dead.
Yeah. So
and like even the premier places like a vertical farm in Tokyo or something, that doesn't exist anymore. I think they bulldozed it.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's really about, you can see who has been responsible with their, venture capital raised, who's grown with intention. It's the right economics at the right time, the right crop.
But you guys are now like not as really anywhere near a startup.
It
Right?
depends on what definition you use.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, so we're in retail stores, we're
Well, I guess it
producing.
depends on how much venture capital you depend on for what you're doing, you know? Like, once you get to the stock market, you're not.
Yeah.
And if you're, I mean, if you're self-sustaining without venture capital, I guess you're not, you're just a private company, right?
Yeah,
So that's probably where you guys are.
we're not IPO'd yet, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But when our company was founded, there were things that our like founding leaders really wanted to make core to our business, that it should taste great, that food should be grown where people are year round, that should be wholesome, nutritious, free from pesticides and herbicides, and it should feeding people doesn't have to endanger our environment or deplete our natural resources. And why is this important? So I feel like your generation is probably more aware of this than any other. So I don't need to beat this dead horse here, but our population is expanding. We're importing food, which relates to food security. We have extreme weather events. So a couple of years ago, we were talking about the droughts in California. Now we're talking about the floods and the wildfires in California. None of those are great conditions to grow things in. We have food safety and recalls. So some produce, you see a lot of recalls for safety concerns, and that's important. We want our consumers to stay safe. Consumers are also starting to push for different trends than they used to. So people want clean foods. They want to view food as medicine. So what are you putting in your body? How can that help me? We want to reduce food waste. People are asking those tough questions of companies of how are you contributing to these things? Reducing plastic and eating local. So there's a lot of trends that vertical farming can really tap into. And growing food in a changing world is a complex set of problems. So you have drought, heat waves, pest outbreaks, fertile land degradation. So our soil is literally blowing away and disappearing. So the height of soil in farmable lands is actually physically decreasing, which makes it a challenge for farmers. We have freshwater shortages, we have fertilizer shortages, we have food waste, we have pollution from pesticides, from particulate runoff, all kinds of different things, making it very challenging to continue growing food the way that we have to feed our population. And I'm hopefully going to share a video that gives a quick overview of kind of what we do. And I don't know, I need to reshare my screen here. Give me 1 second. Any questions so far while we're shuffling screens here?
So you're working for a startup? I mean, so how does that, are you getting like stock options or something like for pay, or does it pay as well as a normal job? And then like I know my daughter worked for Beyond Meat in Los Angeles.
Okay, yeah.
And that was already IPO.
Yeah,
right?
so
But then they gave a lot of stock to the workers, but basically the stock crashed when the stock market went bad. So it's kind of like it looked really good at one point.
yeah, I mean my salary's competitive.
Okay. So they're not doing like a stock thing for salary.
So there's all kinds of compensation
Okay.
factors. Yeah.
All right.
So those things are part of it. Yeah.
I'm just kind of wondering how it actually works, you know? It seems like they've been around a long time. I mean, they're in Kroger, you know?
So we
Kinda
were
like
founded in
Pete, you know?
2015. Yeah. So it's been 8 years. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a pretty short time, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this video was done with the BBC. They did a whole series on, they called it Follow Food Here. You can see it. And this is our excerpt. And it gives you a pretty good look at actually kind of what our facility looks like. So you'll see inside of what we call our grow zone, you'll hear from some of our leaders in the company. But it's way better than me trying to explain it to you and talk with my hands. So hopefully the sound goes through the Zoom meeting to those online. And
Actually, we've never done this before.
oh, hold on. That's a no-go.
We have done this. We've done it remotely.
Well, why don't we
Well,
just,
You want to just bring it up here?
yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Okay.
There.
Um, Yeah. But we have done videos remotely when guys. It worked fine.
It's probably just because I'm in the same
Yeah,
room.
so somehow we have to somehow mute that.
Yeah.
It's a bit too complicated.
That's not the video, I promise. Were you guys able to hear that over the phone?
Taylor, can you hear that?
Can you try playing it one more time? Sorry, I didn't hear anything.
1 second.
This episode.
Can you hear
Yeah, we can hear it.
Perfect. It's not as fun without the audio.
I'm taking a trip into the future. 10 years ago, this was science fiction. To discover how technological innovation is radically reshaping the agricultural world.
Introducing robotics into farming is inevitable.
Redefining production methods, sustainability, and how and where we farm in the decades ahead. I'm going to be exploring a brave new world of futuristic advances in digital technology and how these could potentially be married up with more time-honored traditions. I want to find out if the future of farming is going to be farmer-free, or if these advances are going to open up a whole new world of high-skilled career opportunities while helping achieve global food security. I'm heading to a new breed of farm that seems to be a natural home for all the technology you could throw at it. Expected to be worth a staggering 50 billion by 2026. The indoor farming technology market is now a serious player when it comes to producing food. Whoa, look at this. This is insane. The sheer size of this, how tall is this?
It's about 55 feet high. This is a metric cube. So this is kind of 10 by 10 by 10. So if you picture each one of these rows, you're looking at 13,000 plants.
I'm inside the world's first fully automated indoor farm. Sitting on just over 1 acre of land, 10 acres worth of produce is grown by stacking the fields one on top of the other, producing a massive 2 million pounds of lettuce each year alone. You cannot see a space in between these. They're way denser than you could ever get in the outside world. With the entire growing system controlled by computers, I can see how something like the plant sensor would fit really well in this world. This is almost like coding. It's almost like biological coding, programming plants, understanding their behavior and trying to elicit that behavior by programming their environment.
Absolutely. And that's really the big step, is moving from learning how to improve growing because I saw something or we saw something and it looked good, so we want to try and replicate it.
Yeah.
To actually using cameras, using artificial intelligence to detect those differences.
Mhm.
And so we can be iterating on a much, much faster basis.
I think there's something happening behind us, and I'm kind of worried that the robots are taking over.
What you're seeing is actually one of the plants and one of the tables coming all the way down from where it was growing on its way out to get harvested.
I feel like I'm in a space station and super perfect lettuce has just magically appeared from the heavens. And the automation doesn't stop there. What would traditionally be a labor-intensive process has been given the full tech overhaul, saving time and money, ultimately allowing the team to have between 17 to 20 more growing cycles than outdoor agriculture each year. And then what happens?
After that, you just stack it on here. And that's it.
It's 200 plants in like 10 seconds or less.
And that's how we do it.
Astonishingly, it takes just 10 people to plant, manage, and harvest the tens of thousands of crops that pass through here every single day of the week. So after these have been rehomed into their bigger modules, where do they go next?
Yeah, so then we take them and we put them into large tables.
Yeah.
Which is what they're going to end up living in as they work their way through our grow zone.
Okay.
And we end up doing, with this exact process, 70 to 80,000 plants a day.
In roughly 20 days, the crops have matured and are ready to harvest, a process that takes 3 to 4 times longer in traditional agriculture. To find out how urban farms like this one are going to revolutionize our food production system in the future, I'm catching up with 80 Acres co-founder Mike Zelkine. In the future, will you ever see things like the carbs that fuel humanity? You know, your wheat, your corn, your soy being grown in a system like this.
Yeah, we feel that to really make vertical farming become important in this world, we all have to get beyond lettuce.
Yeah, it's not a
Yeah.
salad machine.
Exactly. Will it be growing corn and wheat? Not necessarily. That's not the most effective thing to grow. We feel tomatoes and cucumbers and peppers and soft fruit like strawberries and blackberries are critical to make this a very important capability all over the world. The goal is to prove that you can grow the essential food supplies to a lot of these locations that have high population, scarce natural resources, and need sources of food that are local, that are close.
An added beauty of being able to grow this many acres of food in an urban environment means it frees up farmland further out to concentrate on producing more staple crops like wheat, maize, and rice that will be just as vital in the future. So you've come an enormously long way. This is 80 Acres Farm 2.0. What's the next step?
The future is systems like this spreading all over the country, then to the rest of the world. 10 years ago, this was science fiction. Today, it's possible. In 5 years, it'll be so ubiquitous that we will be shocked that this wasn't done before.
This is a metabolism.
That's not 80 Acres Farm. So any questions out of that video?
What kind of energy costs do you have for running all of those lights?
So energy is a topic that we talk about. So we are in Hamilton. We have hydroelectric power there, and we work with the city there. So we really work with the different utilities of where we live and work to get that power. I won't give you an exact number, but it is a part of our budget. But we do monitor that, and we do look at that. And when we get into the PowerPoint further, one of our partners, Siemens. So we've done a lot with Siemens to work on improving our efficiency. So doing, digital twin, AI technology to model and figure out where can we gain efficiencies, where do we have opportunity. So we're always looking to gain that efficiency. And what wasn't really shown in this video is 80 Acres was founded in 2015. And in 2015, we did not start with the massive scale farm. We started small, and small not necessarily being a bad thing, but we started with intention. So spending the right capital to test things. You would never go about, day one building a massive, factory. Same concept. So we did small tests, small modules, and built and grew. And part of that is why, 80 Acres is still alive and thriving today versus some of the other farms that are no longer out there, was really having a responsible leadership management of our funds raised.
So I was gonna ask this for the video, but they kind of cleared it up a little bit. You guys mainly sell lettuce, right? So are the staple crops not a possibility with this farming method? And then have you guys gotten into the berries, and have you what products have you improved upon besides just lettuce?
Yeah. So Mike mentioned, so we've done lettuce, we've done berries, we've done cucumbers, we do tomatoes. Our tomatoes are mostly found in grocery stores. They're cherry tomatoes. They're delicious. So we've done mostly those crops. We've also done some strawberries. We had a small kind of commercial test launch last fall. And like Mike said, so we're looking at those soft fruits, other things. So when you get to the wheats, the corns, those more staple crops, there are vertical farms that are looking into those. Right now, that's not necessarily one of our areas of investigation, and partly because it is very intensive to grow indoors. So some of those crops have very long cycles to turn through, where lettuce grows pretty quick. And some of these fruiting crops, like our tomatoes, we don't just harvest once and, and cut it off. We're actually doing, they call it lean and lower. So it grows and the tomato plant grows for almost a whole year and it's producing. So you just like lower the vine down and it keeps growing and you keep going that. So it's finding the right crops with what we have. As energy efficiency and technologies improve, more things might be considered. But for right now, it's lettuce, microgreens, tomatoes, and then some of those soft fruits and cucumbers and things.
As far as, so it's all contained, do you need to pollinate the plants, or how does pollination work? Was that necessary for these types of plants?
For lettuce, it's not necessary. But for our tomatoes, we do have bees in our farm.
Oh, really? Like such like a crazy concept to think about like bees like floating around the warehouse.
It was a little intimidating the first time I walked in, but survived. They're very happy. They have all the things that they need. It's a pleasant environment and they kind of do their own thing.
What are your water costs like? Since it's yours, and where do you get the soil and
So our water, we are connected to our city water. We do a lot of reuse and filtration of our irrigation water. So we have pretty high tech water quality management. So really lower the amount we bring in. So we use about 95% less water to irrigate our crops versus open field. And part of that is we are getting it right to the plant's root, exactly where it wants, versus planting it in the soil. You have runoff, you have, just inefficiencies there. What was the second part of your question? Our soil. So we do not technically grow in soil. We grow in a like peat cocoa coir. We call it media. So it's cocoa coir is a byproduct of the coconut industry. And peat is obviously peat. And that is a resource that everyone is moving away from. So I'm sure we'll be investigating soon, but it's a really great stable media. So it holds the moisture, it holds the nutrients for the plants. And then we can compost it from our leafy facilities.
So it's hybrid farming, right?
Mhm. Yeah, so soil is in some circles is a very technical term.
See, they're like chemists, you mix all the things you need, phosphorus, whatever, nitrogen, nitrates.
Yeah,
you
so
have some kind of recipe to make the liquid.
yep, so we have our
There's no earth.
no, there's no earthworms, but we have our irrigation water with all of our nutrient solution in there, and that's monitored and cared for to give the plants what they want.
You guys have like different varieties of mangoes, like that.
I believe we're all GMO free on our lettuces, but I would double check the website and I should know that. So good call. But we have different varieties. If you look in our salads, we have, frilly lettuce, romaine lettuce, all kinds of different varieties. And we're always looking at what is the right variety to grow. One of the things with vertical farming is a lot of our food that we get in our grocery store is bred for its supply chain. So if you think about most of the lettuce in the US is grown in California or Arizona. We live in Ohio. Let's just take a moment, right? So the crops that we grow, other different produce like tomatoes, let's say, have to like withstand that whole supply chain. So traits like durability are selected and preferred because when you get to the retailer, it's still good and it looks good. We don't have to necessarily select our seeds based on those same parameters because we've condensed everything into one building and we are within 48 hours of our retailers. So we don't necessarily have to select those same traits that a field farmer might be looking for in their seed selection. And these traits have, people have been doing this without realizing it for the entire history of the earth. But we're able to pick what is the right nutrient, what is the right seed for growing indoors or growing, the best tasting lettuce, etc. So a little different selection criteria.
And I heard that you guys don't chill your trucks.
Would have to check on that. Most produce goes on a refrigerated truck because that is where you would lose a lot of shelf life. Yeah.
Since you're so close to the retailers, where does the price of your product compare to
So we are pretty close to organic produce for lettuce and salad blends. One of the big differences between organic and what we do is, so we are pesticide free. Organic does not mean pesticide free. It just means you're using a natural pesticide. So there's some differentiation there. It is a premium lettuce, but there are really great trade-offs, and that's why we see a high repeat rate of our consumers. So the benefits is it lasts long in your fridge. If you've ever purchased, normal bag salad, 2 days later you open it up and it's slimy or it's pink or it's gross, right? Our lettuce doesn't behave the same way. So it is a little bit higher than the traditional field lettuce, but it's on par with organic typically.
The seeds that you use to grow all of your plants, are you producing those from previous generations of the plants in the building, or are you going out first?
Those are purchased. Okay. Gonna keep moving on here. Maybe.
Is it Los Angeles company? They show the front page that shows potatoes. It's like, right off that isn't a real company.
Different people are doing different things.
You can't, you couldn't really grow those, right? Not in the present form,
You can grow almost anything indoors. It's just what makes sense as a business, right crop, right economics, right scale. So agriculture and innovation is not a new concept, and actually neither is hydroponics. So I gave this talk a couple of weeks ago with our head grower, and it was really fun to hear her talk about some of these, so I threw it in. But back to the time of Babylon and the Aztec empires, there have been trickle-down watering methods, floating gardens, etc. The Romans had greenhouses. So the concept of growing other than field is not new. And the hydroponic concepts have been around for a long time. In World War II, there were some hydroponic farms on some of the remote islands, and that bottom left photo is actually a photo of a greenhouse that was feeding troops in remote areas. So this is not necessarily a new concept. NASA has been studying it for a number of years. In Japan, they have been using controlled environment ag, CEA, for quite some time due to kind of the constraints of their nation. So this is not necessarily a new concept as far as hydroponics, but I also like to remind people that agriculture in general has evolved quite a bit. So when you think of a commercial wheat field or cornfield that you drive past, right? That is innovation. At one point in time, we didn't grow in fields like that. We didn't grow that tightly. We didn't do things that way. But everything from hand plowing to going to a horse to going to a mechanical powered plow, all those are innovation steps. So agriculture, we've always had to feed more people, and we always want to do it more places with less resources. So it's really a long-standing tradition with agriculture and innovation. And when our founders were working in previous produce industries, they saw some of the inefficiencies. In the far right, that photo, those are not apples, those are tomatoes. So they harvest tomatoes green, and as they go through the supply chain, they then ripen. And that's why if you've ever grown a tomato in your backyard or someone's backyard, and you compare that to what you might pick up on shelf, they taste very different. They look very different. And that's just how they're grown, how they're harvested. And our founders knew there had to be a better way to deliver this food to people. And that's how 80 Acres was born. So really we have our roots are in, as a company, are in doing things differently and addressing some of these inefficiencies. And that being said, as we develop as an earth, as a globe, the food system needs innovation, it needs change, and we believe we're one of these necessary solutions. We work very well with traditional farming, so we have partnerships with, field farmers can learn from us, we can work together. So vertical farming is a part of the solution for the future, but not necessarily the only solution. Like we said, right now, number of companies are not looking into wheat or corn. We still need those things grown in field, but we can take some of these other crops, grow them indoors very well, very efficiently, and support that food system in the future.
Isn't it a big opportunity for genetic modification to make corn grow like lettuce somehow, or hybridized lettuce and corn?
I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
I can't say I've been involved with anything like that, but yeah.
I mean, it just seems like, it's still like an energy, but there's a mass balance to the operation, right? And
Yeah,
if you
it's-
figure out- If you got the right plant in between, like the new catalysts.
Yep.
I mean, I would think that could, anyway, again, like Laban mentioned, like modified triple food hasn't to be
Yeah,
in Europe especially.
definitely. So as our company was founded, we really resonated with the bottom SDGs. Are you guys all familiar with the UN Sustainable Development Goals? No and yes. Okay, so the UN came together a number of years ago and made and aligned on 17 goals that were necessary to have a sustainable future for the earth. So it covers everything from gender equality to responsible resource consumption to life and water, life on land. And they're really a great tool or identifier to use in a global format. So you'll see companies like myself using them. You'll see the P&Gs of the world. You'll see all kinds of different organizations because it's kind of a common language of how are we contributing to a better future for the earth. So, good health and well-being, providing fresh, nutritious food, clean water and sanitation. So, conserving our water resources, being good stewards, responsible resource consumption and production. So again, we can reduce our needs for fertilizer, for water, for other inputs, climate action. So we have targets around the science-based targets and reducing our greenhouse gases, life below water. By growing indoors, we don't have the runoff of fertilizers or pesticides or anything you have in a traditional field, which then can lead to eutrophication and other biodiversity problems. Life on land, again, we're not affecting arable land or destroying any natural habitats. So we're able to we're able to resonate with those goals. When I came on board to the company, I also spent a lot of time with our organization and really organized things we were already doing into our 4 pillars: how we grow, product and packaging, community engagement, and farm infrastructure. So how we grow is really our operations, boots on the ground, reducing waste, reducing inefficiencies, product and packaging. So making strides in our packaging to maintain our premium quality and freshness, which gives you the great shelf life as a consumer, but reducing our carbon footprint impact. Right now we do use plastic, but we're always looking to try new materials and making sure we're getting as much of our product out the door to human mouths as possible. Community engagements. So we are leaders in our community. So doing things like this, we have a great field marketing team that they do everything from like a COSI agriculture day to different fairs and events. So teaching people about food, about what vertical farming is, while letting them taste it. We also do a lot of work in some pre-competitive industry groups. So helping our industry grow as a whole. And mature and have good standards, good metrics, good overall company framework. And farm infrastructure, so continuing to grow with renewable energy at our farms, integrating the latest technology, innovation, to make our farms more and more efficient. So those are the 4 pillars. And some really great examples, because you guys are engineers, and what's a talking point without an example? So our packaging, so I talked about making strategic choices there. So when we did our commercial launch or test launch of strawberries, we used a paper board that was lined with plastic. And it was a kind of a novel packaging choice to help our consumers be able to recycle that package versus the traditional plastic shell. So we're always testing these new materials. The paper board was FRCS certified, etc. But trying to see what we can do to make our package more recycle friendly for our consumers. Our local food networks, so really proud that we have a collaboration with the Ohio Association of Food Banks to help increase fresh produce in their network. This allows us to package some of our produce for the food banks. Because if you think about it, if I donate a giant bag of lettuce, that's a little hard to distribute. Versus if we can get it in, family size packaging, that gets the produce into more hands, deeper into their food networks. So working with that association to be a part of that grant is really exciting. And we're, really proud that people from all walks of life can have access to our great produce. And adaptive reuse. So this facility pictures, you have the before and you have the after. This is in downtown Hamilton, and this is our tomato farm. So the video, you saw the gentleman walking between the tomato aisles, that is that building there. And so we're able to use that brownfield site, renovate using efficient technology and equipment selection. And now that building, it looks a lot better visually, right? But it's also providing jobs, it's providing economic value to the area, and it's really exciting. Our latest farm in Florence, Kentucky, that just opened is also a existing building. It was a printing facility that closed around COVID, and it's now growing a lot of lettuce. So we're able to use infrastructure that's already there, which is really important. When we talk about farming and arable land, this is a building in downtown Hamilton. We took a building in, Florence, in the industrial area of Florence. So we're able to use these places and grow food where you might otherwise have, you wouldn't really be able to grow this much lettuce. So it's really important. And these are things that are built into our business. So this is not me doing everything. These are people in our business that are doing these things and making these happen. And it's really built into our business. So our annual impact. So because we're able to grow closer to our consumers, we save quite a few miles in food, miles delivering to our customers. By growing indoors, by having that control, that water reuse, we can reduce the amount of water necessary to grow the volume of lettuce. And our food waste. So we're able to control a lot of that supply chain. If you think about what an open field lettuce goes through, you have harvest, gets into some kind of truck, and it goes to a pack house where it gets washed and sorted and packed and all those things. All those steps have a lot of waste. Again, we do that all in one building. We're able to control it, get it cold really quick, get it in a controlled environment. And we're able to donate a lot because we are in a more urban area. We have these great partnerships with the food bank, with last mile food, etc. So we can get food to people if for some reason there's excess. So we're able to avoid a lot of food waste, which is important. And this is my slide that I like to give. So vertical farming is a new industry. It's young. But one of the things that makes me really proud to be a part of it is we have come together as an industry. I mentioned pre-competitive work. And one of our groups created an identity and manifesto statement. And this is really about saying we are here to do things differently from the start. We understand the global situation, and we know we need to act responsible from the start. So integrating things like science-based targets, like the UN SDGs, and making these things a part of our core structures as we grow and scale and develop, versus coming back in 20 years and saying, okay, now we're ready to address that. That's not what we're here to do. We're going to do it differently from the start. And also 80 acres, I mentioned at the beginning, we have a number of investors that are focused on green, sustainable impacts. So we're having people that are aligned to our mission and our values join us along the way. And it's not necessarily just investors. So you can find 80 acres in Kroger's. Kroger's has a really great sustainability initiative platform, things like their Zero Hunger program. So we find people with a lot of common values who want our product on their shelf.
Well, Kroger's is an investor in the company too, right? They're kind of, anyway, you built kind of a network to make this thing work.
Yeah, I think with Kroger, it speaks that, we started with about 20 stores,
yeah.
And then we moved to about 300, and now we're about 1,000. So
like if you Google vertical farming in Africa, there's like a joke, like people are doing stupid things, not being good at this. So why isn't it in like Lagos or something in the or like big cities? Seems like. Anyway, I guess it's on one block too.
I don't know. I think potentially, resources, knowledge, etc. So their vertical farming, I mean, I know of companies throughout the world, and I think some of it is, the right crop at the right time. So is there, a need for the same crop in Africa right now? I'm not sure, but is there enough research into crops that they want to see in their country versus what we are valuing here in the US? So there might be some disconnect there, or it could be companies like 80 Acres who are growing really small at the start,
Yeah.
and they'll hit their scale points and start that, rapid growth.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I guess it's a lot of issues. I mean, definitely transport is a huge problem, especially in Nigeria. You don't come with Nigeria. Like the roads are terrible. And it's all traffic jams.
yeah,
It's like pretty hopeless. So if you could grow vegetables like in the center of the city, definitely there's a market for it. But there's no labor is cheap, but there's no energy is expensive. So that's the problem, I guess. Could you run your whole plant on solar panels, or how much energy do you actually use? I guess it's kind of
so
like you could make a truck trailer, say size vegetable farm, like you used to have those here on and then could that run off the solar field or something?
it would just be the size of the solar field. So we need more solar than our rooftop could provide.
Right.
So it really just depends on scale. And then if you're doing a container size, some of the power input, some of those things are different. And admittedly, I haven't been as focused on the container sized farms to answer that question technically, but yeah,
I'm not
having.
sure if that would be the right approach in Africa. It just seems like it's easy. It seems like it's portable. You can almost fly it there, take it on a ship.
Yeah, we do have, the container farms,
Yeah.
as we call them. And there are some vertical farm companies out there that are focused on that kind of module scale.
What about just growing, like say you have a company in New Jersey that makes tomato sauce or something, just grow the tomatoes outside your door?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely possible. It'd be easy enough, kind of the near site manufacturing. Yeah, absolutely, you can do that.
Yeah, I haven't really seen anything like that either. People, it seems like the growth of the industry is happening.
Yeah.
The innovation seems to be stalled.
Well, I think for a long time, it was a lot of capital was raised, and then there was a lot of innovation and R&D work and concept building. And now you have some of the companies coming out, out of that time and having those proof points. So to be able to go to that next step of what you're referring to. And so this slide here, when we talk about what kind of crops can you grow, so we have on the slide, so some of these are, things in research and developments like blackberries, the soft fruits, strawberries. I think those are bell peppers over there. So to a certain extent, you can grow any crop indoors. It's just what's the right crop? What do you have the economics for? Where's there demand for it?
I mean, the robotic harvesting is absolutely it's basically manual.
Yeah, we don't have robotic harvesting for our tomatoes. Yeah.
I actually worked for Kroger R&D, and we talked about mainly food freshness and stuff I worked on. So it's really interesting. We've had those conversations about shortening the supply chain and making it more localized. But I don't know if we just didn't have the right knowledge, the right people in the right places, but I didn't even hear about 80 acres. And it came up occasionally, but just more about how it tastes good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it just talking about berries, and it's interesting to see some of the stuff I was working on in actual movement. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, there's a lot of opportunity, and I think what you were alluding to is, this was a new industry, and really LEDs hit a certain point of efficiency, and that really unlocked a lot of the economics behind vertical farming. And then we went through all this innovation and people trying and doing different things. And now we've, companies like 80 Acres, we've done it. We have favorable unit economics in our farm. We're able to prove that, hey, this works, and we have great taste. People know about that. And so I think now we're starting to talk about, okay, what's next? We're talking about soft fruits, we're talking about other things. So I think we're kind of at that point where a whole nother avenue is like opening up.
People are talking about online, they're talking about cannabis too. I mean, it looks like a compound, right? Actually, if you look at it in that light, it's kind of what it looks like.
So there cannabis is a big hydroponics industry. We do not do we do not do cannabis. But there's a lot of technology that we borrow.
There's a vote coming up.
Never say never. I don't get to make those decisions. But yeah, there's a lot of technology from the cannabis hydroponic industry that is used in lettuce growing.
Where you see this business really explode, you know, it's all of a sudden, I mean, tobacco was big for a long time, you know, and that's kind of gone now. So it's like, maybe this is the thing.
Yeah.
Especially with control of quality.
The berries are interesting because the freshness on the berries depends on like when they're picked. So the suppliers that Kroger was getting their berries from, it wasn't as controlled. So like I can just do like.
You can taste the difference today in a strawberry versus 4 months ago in a strawberry. Yeah.
I can just like see like Kroger, like the people in the organization being like so excited about that, but berries is like such a pain point for them.
Yeah.
Nowadays, a lot of these plants seem to be kind of like temperate climates. Is there like extension to like tropical climates for a lot of these fruits, or is that a lot harder to control?
So the grow zone itself is fully contained, so we contain that environment. So if you wanted to build a vertical farm in Africa in a tropics area, it would just you would do it, and it would just be making sure your engineering team designs the right HVAC equipment, because the outdoor conditions affect some of that HVAC sizing. But yeah, you could absolutely grow this anywhere, because in that control, we control what the plant environment feels. So it's, you know, an open field, they're really responding to the external environment. Oh, I had a flood and now I'm seeing mold. I apply a pesticide or a fungicide, right? Or I haven't gotten rain, so now I need to irrigate, et cetera, et cetera. In vertical farming and controlled environment ag, we control the environment to what the plant wants. We know what temperature it likes. We know how much sunlight or light it likes. So we are able to control and basically program what that plant wants in. Does that answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there are the flower farms in the Beaucage. I mean, that's kind of, they're already controlling the farm. It's on a huge scale.
Yeah.
Much bigger than this.
Yeah, the Dutch have a long-standing flower tradition as well. So, and maybe that's, you know, the gateway step in. But I think as a globe, as our agricultural lands shift and change, and, you know, temperatures are shifting, arable land is disappearing, floods, droughts, fires, etc. I think the need for growing food in more ways is going to become more and more important.
And part of it is reforestation too. I mean, the climate is really controlled by the trees. And once you cut down the trees and plant the corn, like the climate goes to hell, you know? Basically, you turn land into a desert.
Yep.
So the land's more valuable to have as a climate control, like food source. If you can produce foods and
yeah, and that goes back to like the building reuse. So we're able to, we don't need a plow field or, you know, clear land to grow. But also at the same time, we can grow in areas like if it was really hilly or, you know, poor soil quality for, you know, field growth, we're not worried about that necessarily the same way a field farmer would be.
So it said in lettuce, you get 20 crops a year. And then is that in a normal farm to get 1 crop a year or 2 or 1?
Maybe 2 or 3, depending on where you are in the season. So, you know, typically we say like a farmer sees, you know, about 50 seasons. Our farmers are seeing exponentially higher than that. So, they're learning.
I'm trying to figure out what's the advantage factors in like 30, because for your layers, 10 layers, and then maybe like 3 times more growth. And then you can look about the factor of 30 versus the outdoor farm.
Yeah, it's pretty significant how much more we can grow, because we are able to, by kind of programming that plant, we're able to get it to mature very quick, very efficiently, and then, grow in a very efficient square footage. And then we're able to kind of stack that field on top of itself. So, yeah, so we're able to really kind of optimize every step.
Have you seen this aeroponics where they grow on the two sides of the, I don't know if that's really, I've seen videos of it. I'm not sure if they're really doing that, but
There are
it's like
some,
you could double your 10 to 20 if you grew on both sides.
there's pros and cons to all the growing styles, I'll say. There's a handful of vertical farms that do more of an aeroponic technology, and it just, there's differences and there's pros and cons.
I mean, you need the robots to change things.
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways with some of our industry peers that they grow, but
There's a company in Kentucky that's doing just they aren't using LEDs as a greenhouse, but using hydroponic.
is it App Harvest?
Yeah, at harvest. Yeah.
Yeah, so App Harvest is a greenhouse, and they use supplemental lighting and some
But they've
supplemental.
grown like crazy, right? Past couple of years, at least on paper, at least on their webpage.
They've experienced some financial trouble lately, so they've been kind of purchased and bought out, but they do tomatoes
They
spreading.
cashed in.
Yeah, but it's,
Put on a big show and then sell it.
yeah, but it is a hydroponic way of growing tomatoes. They call it like the gutter method, so.
But
it's
still,
gutter.
this region seems like the center for this technology, right? I mean, it seems like Cincinnati, Kentucky, this whole area.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of need, and I think with lettuce, knowing that most of our lettuce is coming from California and Arizona, I think the consumer can taste the difference, and it can be really meaningful. Because again, if you can't taste the difference, if you don't see the value in it, the repeat purchase isn't going to be there. But it's pretty obvious to our consumers that it tastes good, that it's fresh, and that it lasts. So it's a good place to develop this.
It seems like a nightmare how much you guys are producing. What were like some challenges that you guys had when like getting your trucks together? How many trucks you guys bringing into that small building?
It's a pretty streamlined process, to be honest. So when we, have those jumps in growth going from like 30 stores to 300, that was a big moment, right? Going from 300 stores to 1,000, that was a big moment. But we have a really great team, and we have a lot of technology built in. So we have our own proprietary management system for everything from when it gets, raw materials come in the building to when it leaves. So we're able to have that traceability throughout our whole process. And then our teams are pretty set on the process. Everything's kind of automated to know what do you need to package today? What do you need to ship today? It's very, very fluid and smooth. Maybe shockingly so, but I think we have it down to a science of what needs to happen. And yeah, it's amazing. Like you look at our building footprint and you're like, how in the world? But it happens, and it's really exciting. And again, we only have 300-ish employees, so we do a lot.
Mention you have bees at the buildings. Do you collect and sell honey, or is that just?
They're not honey producing. Yeah. Yep. Any other questions? About 3 or 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're getting into it. I can hear rumbling.
They're packing up. No, this is the end of my presentation, so we timed it well. But thank you guys for letting me come back and talk. And
Have questions or something.
yeah, I can hang out for a little bit. Yeah, it's a really fun job.
Yeah, it's good to see you doing well.
Yeah, and it's thank you. To your point about the program, it's like that thought process. I use it all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And being a chemi, whose dongle was this?
Oh, yeah.
Are we still? No. Yeah, yeah, you guys will reach out. Yeah, we're gonna-
Do you know who's this guy?
I don't know, work there. Okay, I know.
Yeah, I think she's gone. Maybe.
Yeah. So it's- I think it was last one. That's fine.
Do we do internships cross and then I'm full year? Oh, yeah, congrats. I don't know what our postings would be for like this coming summer, but if you follow us on LinkedIn, and then I think we also are working with like the health office, but that's, so I would say tuned on LinkedIn. So engineering otherwise,
Looks like it'd be pretty cool.
great.
Yeah, I mean,
I've done a lot of EHS for more
Okay.
safety stuff. So
Yep.
I saw sustainability, didn't really get to do it.
There's one over here.
It is,
And I do consumer products.
Okay.
So I'm been interested in the things that are consumer products. So.
yeah. Keep an eye out on our stuff. I don't know of any specific role to tell you. The other thing too is you can always shoot a resume over for something that's maybe not a perfect fit. and
Right.
Get it in.
Right.
Yeah. Definitely. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. I think she was trying to text her. Okay. I don't want to steal it because they're so useful.
Yeah, so that's valuable stuff right there.
Yeah. No, I use so much chemical engineering. It's nothing else other than like unit conversion. Like,
Yeah.
I work a lot with our engineers. So being able to speak their language is
Yeah.
valuable.
I mean, how many engineers do you have? I think the people, there's a mixture of people, and a lot of it is just marketing, right?
We have some, yeah, so we have our engineers, we have our sales, we have marketing, we have R&D. We have a pretty decent technical service department, so where we have our continuous improvement engineers, subject matter experts like myself, and then
Oh, yeah, you have
growers.
entomologists down here, right?
Yeah.
Just one.
Yep, we have
Like one.
our, Alex is still.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, we have all of these different subject matter experts, and then we have
Yeah.
the people like running the farms. So it's, and we have a lot of.
Eventually you'll have like research lab where you're designing.
So we have a research facility in Arkansas.
Oh, I see.
Yep, so they do a lot of work on,
Or just team up with like Monsanto or something. I don't know if are they still in that or like genetic modification?
so,
I'm not even sure if they're still doing it. But
Yeah.
People protesting. Basically, like for this.